welcome to another episode of Motivation Limitless. I have another special guest on here, Miss Kiara. Kiara, if you can go ahead and just let the audience know where you're from, what sport if you continue to participate in, or if you are now retired, if you ran in collegiate, what college did you go to? And just let them know who you are a little bit.
Yes, hi guys. So my name is Kiara Lester. I currently ran track and field. I did run collegiate track. I ran at Penn State University for 4 years, and then once COVID happened, I kind of had the opportunity to be able to put my name in the transfer portal, which I ended up doing so. and then once I put my name in the transfer portal, I had went down to Texas Tech where I was able to finish my last outdoor season. And yeah.
Okay. And where are you originally from?
I'm originally from South Jersey.
But y'all, she's losing her accent. I don't know. She got a Florida accent going on right now.
You cannot take the Jersey out of me.
That's so funny. How did you even get into track?
So I ran track at the age of 7 years old, where at first I was running park and field, like park and recreation track and field, where it was pretty much my dad's hometown. They had like a park and rec track and field where we all that's pretty much how I started. And then after that, once I was running for the team, there was like a few people on the team that was pretty much like telling my parents like, oh, she's too fast. She needs to like something more competitive. So at the age of like 9-ish, that's when I kind of transferred over to running AAU track and field. And then from there on, it's kind of just been history.
When you first started and got into track, what event did you start doing?
Oh, girl, I don't even remember for real. Everything. Yeah, I don't really solely remember what my event was. I just remember running everything. And yeah.
But now, did you have the support with your family? Did they want to like push you with track, or was it more so like, is this something you really want to do? What was that direction?
I would say absolutely. Like during the time I was also doing cheerleading. So I was cheering and I was also running track, but obviously like people say, oh, cheerleading's not a sport, but I thought it was. I was having a great time. So then during that whole time, it was kind of both like back and forth, going to cheer practice, going to track practice. But at the end of the day, like my parents were very supportive of me. I also have a brother, so he was doing track and football at the time. So yeah, they were very invested.
Your brother older or younger?
Yeah, he's 2 years older than me.
Okay.
Yes.
Did he kind of push you to do the track thing? Or was it more so, oh, this is something I found and this is what I want to do?
I think it was kind of both, honestly. Like, just kind of always want to practice with one another. And then, like, when I was in high school, he was a senior when I was a freshman. So, kind of just going in there, and just really motivating one another. And then just how good I was as well. Like I said, he was very known for football in our high school. So then, when I came in, everybody was kind of looking forward to me running track. So, it kind of worked out, and just kind of pushing each other during those times. So, yes, he was very, into what I was doing.
Okay. So did you now when you basically turned like 9, 10, were you running in middle school? Did you have a middle school team or was it just strictly AAU?
So yeah, we didn't have a middle school track during the like town I was in, really. So like I said, I really did AAU, stuck to AAU throughout my whole time during that whole phase. Yeah.
Okay. You're now for some people who don't know what AAU is, what is AAU and how can somebody join the AAU team? Or how do you find one to join?
Honestly, I feel like nowadays it's a lot easier, I guess, than when, I was running AAU track. It's AAU teams all over the place. It's also AAU and USATF. So AAU, you go with like your specific age group, and then USATF, you're allowed to like run up or down. But really it's just all about kind of just finding people like in the town or just asking around. That's pretty much what I did. I didn't really know anything about track. Neither did my parents to that extent, really. And it was just somebody recommending us to go try AAU team. And crazy enough, the AAU team, like we practiced like right around the corner from my house, which was crazy because like we never really knew that was a thing. And then yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. And then when you started to get into high school, were you still doing multiple events or was it more so just, okay, now I have a special event, this is what I'm good at or this is what I like?
Oh girl. Everything, to be honest. I think Yeah, I was pretty much doing everything, the 1 to 2 to 4 long jump, pretty much everything to try to get points for my team, and then as well as the relays, so yeah, it wasn't really where I felt like I had the opportunity to kinda focus on one sole event.
So when being in Jersey, especially, I know Jersey has what 400 hurdles, right? Because
Yes.
I know in PA we don't have them. We have 300 hurdles. So when did you realize like, okay, this is what I'm good at though? So did you go all the way up until senior year? You were still doing a 1 to 2 long jump 4x1, or was it by that time you knew this is what you wanted to do?
Honestly, well, I didn't hurdle, but I was a 400 runner. So really it was up until like my freshman, pretty much all the way up, even through AAU, I always did the 1 and the 2. I never ran the 400. Like even during AAU, I was never a 400 runner. And then like freshman year, I came into high school. Indoor season, I had pulled my hamstring. So then during that time, I kind of had to take off of like, sprinting and stuff like that. But even during that time, I still was a 100, 200 runner. And then I would say like my junior year, once I kind of found my trainer, that's kind of when I like saw potential in for me to actually run the 400. I really wasn't thinking too much of the 400. People always told me, "Oh, you're a good 400 runner." Okay, that's all they were saying, but I wasn't really trying to embrace that fact at all. Like I really ran from it all
You didn't
my
want to
life.
run that 4x4.
Absolutely not. But I was running the 4x4. I was anchoring, and then, like I said, my junior year, I had got hurt again. And then after that, I
Mm,
kind of had to start building my strength and getting ready for college. So then it was like, okay, let's try the 400. Let's see what we got. And that's kind of when I took it on. But really, it wasn't really until like I would say my junior year of high school where I kind of embraced it. But even still, then I hated it. Yeah,
when you injured yourself the second time, was it still the same thing? Same
yeah,
injury?
it was my hamstring. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. What would you say could have prevented? Would you say what could have prevented that? Would you say better treatment, maybe lifting, maybe like what was something that you would say now looking back, like maybe if I was doing this more, I probably wouldn't have that injury twice within the same 4 years.
Honestly, I think like you mentioned earlier, kind of just one of those things where finding my event and sticking to it. I think
Mm.
when high school, and it's not necessarily to put any like, shame on high school track, but I honestly think a lot of these coaches kind of just have that mindset, like a team mindset, rather than looking at the individual and seeing the goals that the individuals have for themselves specifically. And just kind of being thrown in a whole bunch of events and just like, going back to back to back. High school meets, I believe like we'll have a meet on Monday, say again on Thursday, and I'm going again on Saturday in the same like 5 events. So it's just so much running on your body. And then when I got to college and they was like, "Oh, you only doing one event today." I'm like, "One event? What you talking about?" Like I was already so I think that's the difference. Honestly, you put so much wear and tear on your body throughout high school where you don't really
Mhm.
realize it. It just kind of kept going and going and going. And that was kind of what was going on for real.
Okay. And when you started running, how was school for you? Any distractions during track? How were your grades?
I don't think there was any distractions. No, I wouldn't say really no distractions. Honestly, I feel like with my first year, my freshman year, they technically made us do like mandatory study hall. Until after we was able to pass our classes, and then I was good. Like my hours wasn't as many as I started off with. It definitely was. Sometimes it got hard when we were traveling, like leaving on a Wednesday, and you having to have stuff turned in. But I definitely think at Penn State, like my professors were very like, they were into sports. Like Penn State is a sports school. So I feel like they was kind of really working with us. Just making sure, you're communicating with your professors, not waiting until last minute. I think my grades, they were average. Like I wasn't really like into school, but they were average.
What
Yeah.
did you major in?
So I majored in communications, which honestly I got into my degree a little bit late. Like I kind of was up in the air. At first, I wanted to be a teacher. Then I went into kinesiology, thinking I was going to be an athletic trainer. And then I was like, okay, well, a lot of like the stuff for the athletic training and like the internships and all that was during our practice time. So then I kind of had to switch doing that, and I went into communications, and then that's what I stuck out with.
Okay. And then, like, even to get into Penn State, how did you know Penn State was for you? How did you know that's where you wanted to go? You know, the "we are." Sorry, I got to use quotes because I'm
It's
Pitt,
okay.
so you know.
Boo. But honestly, to be honest, like Penn State was not my number one choice at all. I was definitely going back into forth between Penn State and Tennessee. But one
Mm.
thing I definitely remember was just the relationships that I made on my visit. I definitely liked Tennessee. I definitely liked the campus. I definitely, everything to me was like, okay, this is the place I want to be. But at the end of the day, the relationships go farther than that. Like, I think that's what a lot of like kids nowadays are so caught up on the glitz and glams of things, where realizing like you're getting a degree no matter where you go. And for me, I kind of had to have that realization, like, okay, at the end of the day, this is free money and I'm gonna take it. But also, I think one thing that my coach said at the time at Penn State was like, no matter where I go, he will always be an open door. And I think that definitely like left the impact. It kind of was more so like he was my uncle, not really my coach. And I think we hit it off like that. That was like the relationship when I first met him. So that's something that definitely stuck out to me. And I knew that, no matter what, I would have definitely been safe underneath of him. So that's kind of how I made my decision to Penn State.
That's good. Okay. And then when you actually were going through the letters though, when you were getting offers, were you more so? I can't even say that you want to stay closer to home because PA is closer to Jersey, but then Tennessee is so much farther. So how did you narrow schools down? Was it more so the athletes that were there, the coaching style? Was it more so the type of campus, big school, little school, D1? Like what kind of led you to like, okay, this isn't it. Nope, next letter. This isn't it. Next letter.
Honestly, I think just like me realizing that it was kind of a business, to be honest. Like there were some visits where I kind of realized like I don't know. It's weird to say because every time I like when I was being recruited, I was like, okay, how do you find that the place that's supposed to be for you? And people was like, oh, you'll know, like you'll feel at home. And I'm like, is there a better answer? But honestly, that's what it came down to. Like I just kind of felt like, okay, this is for me. I can see myself here for 4 years. And then also like when you go on your visits, you meet the team. And then just kind of feeling the vibe. Like, can I fit here? Do I like think I will mesh with these girls? Do I think I would, be an asset to their team? And things like that. So honestly, to me, it really didn't matter where I went, whether it was close, whether it was far. Honestly, it just made sure the right fit. And then also too, at the end of the day, like my mom was not paying for college. So when they was talking money, I was like, okay, that might be it. So that played a big factor too.
Okay. So when I was going to ask you, did somebody else have a say in where you would go? Did you have support during your process of elimination for the colleges? Or when you told them, like, hey, I want to go to Penn State, was it why? Or how did that work during that process?
Yes, I definitely had the support during the time. Like my mom, she was gung ho about Penn State. Like when we went there, she's like, "Girl, this where you going?" And me, like we bumped into it a little bit because she was just like, "You don't got to take no other visits. Like they offer you a full ride, just go." But for me, I wanted to see the full experience and just be able to, like I worked so hard for this, and I just want to still be able to see the full experience of going to different colleges and seeing how that actually felt. That's something that all my life that was my dream. Go to college for free and run track. So that was something that I still wanted to experience. But yes, when I told her Penn State was it, she was, oh my gosh. So yes, the support definitely was there.
Okay, so for somebody who might be in that situation right now, they're going into their senior year, they probably do have letters, but they haven't, maybe they only have a certain amount of official visits compared to unofficial visits. So, what do you think they should do? Should they still take those unofficial visits just to get the feel for the campus, or would you say just still going to the regular official ones?
I definitely say like take your unofficial visits if they're close. Like if you can drive to your unofficial visits, if they're relatively like not costing you a whole lot of money to go, definitely take it. Get the experience all the way around. Like it's no other experience than just to be able to say like, wow, like all my hard work paid off and this is something that I worked. So I definitely would say, like, even for me, I went to a few different when I went to Rutgers, that was an official visit, that's down the highway. So definitely take all of the visits, get the experience because you never know. Like the visit that's unofficial might be the one that's for you. So yes, definitely take all the opportunities that's there.
Okay. And during this process, so I know you said one of your coaches, that's how it actually helped you choose like the 400 was for you. What was that
Mhm.
conversation like when you went to the 400?
Gosh, uh,
Go ahead, be honest. What was that
I'm about to say I
conversation
won't
like?
lie, so I don't
Be
want to say
be
too much.
honest.
But, I got
You
cussed
don't
out a
you,
few times.
you don't even have to say the coach name. Just that's
Okay.
fine.
Yes. But no, I got cussed out a few times, like for real. But honestly, the conversation, it was more so the conversation of like this coach just kind of watching me from afar for a long time and kind of just seeing the type of runner that I was and knew that there was so much more inside of me that, I've heard from other people, but it takes a special person to actually like see it and also tap into you. And that was different. I think honestly, it was just kind of one of those things like, this can be your event and it's either going to be up to you to make it happen or not. And that was kind of it. It was kind of like one of those like, I'm giving you the tools, either you're going to take it or you're not. So that was kind of what I remember vividly. But there was a lot of times, yeah, I'm gonna just keep it like that.
So you didn't want to run the 400.
I don't necessarily say I didn't want to run the 400, but honestly, I love sprinting. Like the 200 is definitely my thing. And honestly, like even when it came to the 100, like I was really good at it. But I think once I pulled my hamstring, like I had to come to the realization, like, okay, this is the only way that you're going to get stronger for your other events. So it kind of was one of those things. And then it's a love hate relationship, but yeah.
What would you say is different between you running the 200 and you running the 400?
When I run the
Besides
200, I don't
besides the
really.
extra 200 meters. Besides
Oh,
that,
okay.
but
I was gonna say when I run the 200, I really don't think about it. Like,
mm,
but when I run in the 400, it comes with a lot of like execution, making sure you're setting up the race properly. And that's the thing that I kind of like struggle with, I guess, per se. Like my first 200 and my 400 is fast, and my second 200 is slower. So it kind of is like, it doesn't really help me that much. And then I will also say, like, sometimes, like me running the 400, when I'm running the 200, I get in that mindset, okay, like I don't got to get out as much. And then yeah, so I don't know. I really honestly think it's just I don't think about it. Like when I'm on the 200, I'm just having a great old time. Like, okay. But when I run the 400, girl, I'm stressed out on the line. Like, yeah,
oh my goodness, yeah. I can only imagine. That was not, mm-mm, not at all.
yes.
So during that time, even throughout college, did you have a certain mentor or someone? Did you have somebody to call? Did you have a right hand teammate? Like if something was happening or you was having a bad day, like how did you handle that so it didn't affect you on the track?
Honestly, I had a few people. Like I said, I ran AAU since I was 7. So just to be able to sometimes pick up the phone and call my AAU coach and just kind of talk to her, and just really tapping back into that 7-year-old me. Like sometimes when you get to the collegiate level, you kind of take it like as a profession more so, and it's like everything is business, business, business. But realizing like why exactly I fell in love with the sport, sometimes you need that kind of reminder to be able to just have fun with it again. There was times where I didn't feel like, practicing, or I didn't feel like I was just ready to give it all up. But kind of just having those people to hold you accountable and remind you why you started. So yes, I definitely would say, my AAU coaches. I will also say my trainer through high school. And then, like you said, teammates, and kind of just when you tell your teammates your goals and just being there with them at practice and, pushing each other, it definitely makes a lot. It makes a difference.
That's good. Okay. So when you and that you brought up a good point there, especially with coming into goals. So do you feel as though that's an important thing to have when it comes to track, even at a high school level?
Most definitely. Well, I guess it depends if this is something that you want to take on after high school, I would say. But even if you're not, I definitely think it's important to have goals because it's like, okay, you're practicing like 2 to 3 hours out of the day, just like for what? Like, what's the purpose if you don't have a goal? So I definitely think that's something that, I had. And I feel like it's really important to have a plan on why you're doing what you're doing. Because like I said, you will get tired some days, and when you have that plan and that you have those goals written down, it always reminds you like, okay, this is why I'm going after this way. And it kind of snaps you back into things. So I definitely think writing goals and making a plan is definitely important.
Have you taken that track mindset into like your everyday life? Like of having a goal and having a plan and executing a plan within life, just outside of track?
um I would say yes. It's kind of different, to be honest. Like I feel like when it comes to track, like it's more competitive, but when it comes to my life, like I just kind of be chilling through. So I don't try to put too much pressure on myself. And I definitely think, some of the things that I learned in track, I definitely could use more. Like you said, just making and writing things down. I think when it comes to just like everyday situations, I tend to set up like an agenda and kind of just like cross off things day by day.
That's
Like,
what I
okay,
do. Yeah.
for that. Yeah. So I think in that way it definitely helps me. And then also just having a goal, like, we about to end the month and kind of just seeing myself like, okay, well, where do you want to be by the end of July? And kind of just going off of that with my life. But yeah, I definitely think I probably could do a little bit more of it for real. But yeah.
How was your diet during your collegiate career? It was trash. Oh, mine was bad too. It's fine.
I, Actually, I wouldn't say that it was trash to be honest, but honestly, like I wasn't the type of person where I was just so fixed on like certain foods. I definitely think one thing that definitely helped me though was cutting out soda. That's something that I haven't drunk like even in high school. Like I wasn't a soda drinker. It was kind of strictly water and like juice every now and again. I think for me that was huge. Like if I can cut out soda, I'm doing great. It's not a lot of sugar, but as far as foods, like I really eat everything. And I wasn't really like a person that like be eating crazy or eating out a lot. And then like with the diner hall and stuff like that, that actually kind of helped too in college. It just kind of throughout the week or like, days that you felt like you were going to have a hard workout, kind of just picking different meals that I knew that would get me through. So I guess it was cool for real, but like I wasn't no like super
Like
person. Oh, I got to
like
go vegan. I gotta
counting
have
your
this.
calories and micros and all that.
Absolutely not. That's not me.
That was another job.
Yeah, maybe I should have. I don't know. Maybe it would have made me run a little bit faster, but it's okay. I
There
got
you
through.
go. What would you say is your biggest accomplishment throughout your entire track
Um,
career?
Honestly, I think, well, first of all, my first one, I guess I would say, is obviously, going to college for free. I think that was huge because, it's just something that you see paid off, especially because I've been running since I was 7. That's a long time. So the fact that I was able to like run and then not have to worry about like, student loans, anything like that, that in itself was like a blessing. But I would say like after that would probably be when I won the 400 meters for Big Tens. I think that would
Okay.
be kind of one of the, yeah.
What was your
That was,
fastest 400 time? Like, what's your season best
indoor.
or your PR, personal
I think
best?
I think indoor I went 53.2, 53.3, something like that. Yeah. And then that outdoor season it was canceled because of COVID. So it's kind of like the
Oh,
unknown of like what could have been. Yeah.
so you
Yeah.
was yeah, so you was still in school with the COVID transition, and how did that like affect you, knowing you just ran that indoor?
Honestly, it when it okay, first of all, I thought it was a joke because like when we got back from Big Tens, you were kind of seeing like different people or just talking to different people at other schools and just like, yeah, we done school, we done class, and say we're not coming back, and we didn't get that message from Penn State for a little while. So I'm like, okay, like that's cool, but I got to go to school tomorrow, and then we kind of got the message like, okay, this is happening, and for me, I was like, ain't no way, and then like after Big Tens was kind of like um the time where it was like, okay, maybe I could have made, internationals or something like that, but then everything was shut down. So it was one of those things was like, dag, I finally crossed this off my list. I finally headed in the right direction. And now it's like, it's over. Like, I don't really know how far this can go. So yeah, it was kind of one of those things like, yeah, I, just an experience. I just wonder what it would have been like, I guess.
And how long with the COVID? How long were you? So, would they cancel school and it was like y'all can't come back for X amount of months, or y'all had to finish online?
Well, technically, I was done because that like Big Tens was pretty much like we had well, yeah, we were done. So like when I graduated, my graduation was virtual, real ghetto.
Mm.
And then after that, that's pretty much when I had went to the transfer portal during that time. And then the following school year that we were able to come back. But even when we were able to come back, like some classes were virtual. I remember because I was at my master's, so like my master's program was in person. But even through that time, like when I got to Texas Tech. Practice was very different. Like my first week there, I couldn't even practice because we got caught in a quarantine. One of the girls had COVID that we were around, so that was tragic. Like we was out for 7 days. Mind you, I'm new to the school, new to the team, trying to get like acclimated, and then boom, I can't even practice. Then during that time, of me like training on my own or whatever, I had got hurt. I hurt my Achilles, so then I was out for like
Mm.
2 more months after that. And it was just a lot going on. And then by November, I had got COVID myself. So it was really like a struggle of just trying to get back into a rhythm, being in a whole different place, excited about what's to come, and then just being struck by. stuff one after another. So yeah, but eventually we were able. Everything was lifted. We had to get the COVID shot, and then pretty much practice was like same. We were wearing masks and stuff like that. But it was so hot in Texas, so then after a while, it was just like, okay, y'all, here we are. But yeah, it was a lot.
How did you overcome all of that adversity?
Honestly, I would kinda it was hard at first because, like, training or just knowing, like, what I came from prior to that indoor season of, like, being a Big Ten champion and then finally getting an opportunity to transfer and to be at a school that's, like, designed to winners. I was very excited, but then, like you said, one thing after another. And like, being around my teammates, I definitely think I made, like, but then kind of just being real supportive, like, not nobody really dogging me for, even my coaches not really dogging me for my performance or not really beating me up about it. It was kind of just like one of those things like, this is your last season, just do what you can do type thing. I really never felt like I was solely under pressure. And I think that's made a huge difference. Like, they weren't trying to take my money from me, none of that. It was kind of just really supportive throughout the whole way because COVID in itself was a headache, so just the support that I had from them was really a lot. But that's really what it took.
Okay. And do you still feel like that was probably the most adversity you had to go through within a short period of time?
Absolutely. That might have been probably one of the hardest experiences that I felt like I've been through in my collegiate career or just track career, honestly, overall. Because, like I said, you're excited for a new change. And then when you get to that place, it's like, this not how I envisioned it to go, honestly. And then kind of just having to compete, but knowing that I'm not at my like best. And then, when you're around, like you go to other track meets and you see your old teammates or see other people and they're looking at you like this is not the same Kiara from last year. And then they're not really knowing your story, but they're looking at you like, okay, this is something that's different. And so it's kind of you face all of those different types of things, and then just trying to still at the end of the day, I'm still human. But at that time, people are seeing the athlete; they're not really seeing who I was or what I was going through at the time. And I was never the type of person to try to like brag about it or have any excuses. At that point, it was like I'm going through it. It is what it is. But just facing that and then having, you're being around different people and like that, this is really what's going on. But
And
yeah.
how did you block the outside noise? So when people were like, "This not the same Kiera," like, was it something you entertained, or was it just like you said, something like it is what it is, just because they don't know what I'm going through?
Honestly, that was kind of the mentality. Like I knew no matter what, I was still on that journey for a reason. At the time, I didn't really understand. Like, okay, like God, what are you showing me? Why is this going on? But honestly, I think I fell more in love with the sport during that time because honestly, I had nothing to really rely on but pure like this was it. Like this was my last season. And I was at that point, I just ended up having fun with it. Like I even was able to, travel with the team to nationals. I was one of the people on the relay pool. My coach pretty much could have said, "No, you're hurt, you're injured, you haven't really been doing nothing all season. Stay home." But just to be able to get the full experience, no matter how I was feeling, I think that was huge. And just being able to, like, my coaches see me as Kiara before they see me as athlete, and my teammates the same way. It kind of made the experience so much more. Like it took a load off of me, if that makes sense.
You did. Okay. So how do you think more being an athlete, like how do you think coaches can look at their athletes as a person, for who they are instead of just like, okay, this is just another one of my athletes. What are some things
Um,
do you think they can build a certain type of relationship with them? What do you think?
I definitely think so. And honestly, like I really didn't realize that until I became a coach myself. So that's like something that I do now in where I'm at in Jacksonville. I coach high school track. And it's hard sometimes because like you're pushing an athlete to be like great, right? And you see something in them that they might not even see it in themselves at that time. And sometimes you kind of get on that competitive edge and you want them to do so well, not realizing sometimes they might be having a whole lot, like something might be, going on behind closed doors that you don't even know about. So that's kind of my biggest goal is kind of just to build connections and build relationship with my athletes. I think that's huge. Like if you can walk away from a college or anywhere, honestly, and say that I built a relationship with this coach, I think that coach has done a hell of a job. But if you can't walk away and say that you really got to know your coach or your coach really got to know you, then honestly, it was all a business. And I think sometimes, that's what it comes down to. Like a lot of coaches don't really take time to get to know their athlete. And then, like I said, if you get hurt or you get injured, they're ready to come take your money. But not realizing like the
So
person that they signed before that didn't have nothing to start with. So I think it definitely makes a huge difference that you build those relationships, get to know, your athletes. Cause someday, like the fact that I can still call my Penn State coach or my Texas Tech coach and say, hey, like, do you know of any jobs out there? Or like, if you switch schools, can you hire me? Like, to be able to have those rapport and that set of network, I feel like my coach has done their job.
absolutely. Okay. Let me find out Penn State, Texas Tech put a stamp on you.
Girl, they might have. They might have.
After your collegiate career, what did you do after? Did you do something with your degree? Did you start coaching immediately? How did you transition?
Um, so I transitioned. I had went down to Orlando for a little bit. I was working at UCF, with the director of operations down there, which I was still able to see like collegiate track and field, which was pretty cool. UCF is an all girls program. So just the fact that the way that those girls got along, the way that, they vibed with one another, the way that they were able to have a lot of success, it was really nice to see on the opposite end of, the collegiate world. And just honestly, it was just a really nice, beautiful thing to see. And then after that, I kind of felt like for me, I wanted to be at the next level, but also for me, it's like, okay, well, sorry, it's all these mosquitoes out here. But honestly, after that, I kind of, wanted to get more experience because one day, like, I plan to, be in athletic administration. So I wanted to get more experience and stuff like that. And then I always, like, heard other people say, you should be a teacher, you should do this, you should do that. And I really, I like to teach for real, but I really just rather play with the kids and that's it. So, after that, I ended up going to Teach for America, which then the location that I got brought to from Orlando was Jacksonville. And then they also had like a head coaching job opened up at a high school out here. So that's kind of how I landed into all of that. But the experience that I've been on, the journey that I've been on is great. Definitely we made some connections along the way. So yeah.
What would you say the biggest difference is between coaching and being an athlete?
Cool girl. I'd be ready to kill these kids. So I definitely understand what my coach is like. I honestly think coaching might be harder. Like I'm starting to realize that for real because it's like you're responsible like for so many things. Like it's eye opening for real. Being a coach is definitely eye opening. Like when I was an athlete, I think all I really had to do was like compete and die during workouts for real. But like during a coach, you got to do everything, and then also it falls back on you too. Like if your athletes aren't competing at the next level or the top of their game, and then you have people looking at you like, okay, so what are you doing as a coach? Why are they not getting faster? Stuff like that. So it's a lot. I definitely think coaching might got being an athlete beat just a little bit, by a little bit, for real. But oof,
So now your coaches know what they've been through when they was coaching you. Now you know what
yup,
they've been through.
yup, I believe it. Yup, it's a lot.
All right, so if you
But
can go back with what you know now, with all the knowledge you have now, if you can go back even to high school or college, and tell your younger Kiara something like very important or something you feel like would actually help you back then, what would you tell yourself?
um, that's a deep question for real. Honestly, for me, honestly, I think I don't really. That's oh Lord. You done got me with this one because I feel like there's so much that I learned along the way that I
Mhm.
wish that my younger self would have known. And I think more so just, properly how to run a 400. Like I really didn't get the gist of that until my college years. Like, I knew that I was good at the 400, but to say that I specifically knew how to run it the correct way, I definitely don't feel like I learned that. Like even at my big, like when I won Big Tens, I think that was a turnaround of that. Like when I finally realizing how to run this race, how to embrace this race, and how to like it. And I definitely think that's huge. But also, I guess looking back, like to who I was as a freshman, just telling myself, just pretty much having dog eat mentality. Like I came into my freshman year kind of a little bit timid, and honestly, I don't know why. Because in high school, that definitely was not me. But I kind of was like, okay, I'm the freshman. Let me follow the ropes of everybody else, rather than stepping fully into like the leader that I was. I think that's something that I
Mhm.
would tell myself, like my younger self, like don't hold back for nobody. Like step into the leader that you already are. So yeah, I think that's something definitely that I definitely would have probably told my freshman self. Yeah.
So as kids are, and I know you're coaching, so I know this is a good question for you. So as kids are competing, maybe in the middle school age, high school age, or even collegiate athletes, let's say they don't have a mentor. Maybe they're
Mhm.
just going based off of internal motivation, having that mindset, but they just are missing that external motivation. That just that person that might be able to get them to push to their full potential. How do you think they can find that person or even that mentor? Like, you know what? I think I found the person maybe, but how can I get them to mentor me? What would you say? Like, how would I be able to do that?
Honestly, I feel like this question is hard. Reason being because I feel like a lot of like even just kind of with my track program, I feel like a lot of these kids and their parents, they really don't know, You don't really know something until you have somebody telling you, or you don't really know how to follow something until you have somebody leading you. And for me, like I was blessed to be able to have, like I said, different people in my life, obviously at the age of 7. Like I started very young. But like a lot of the kids that I'm facing, like their first time running track is in high school. And then, a lot of their parents don't know a whole lot about the sport. So it's kind of hard nowadays. And I feel like, the kids nowadays have a little bit hard time trusting people. And that's kind of hard. I think for me, and how I try to instill that, like I'm your coach, but I can also be your mentor. Like I said earlier, you just have to build relationships with kids and just allow them to know that, you can be trusted, but also allow them to know that your door is always open. But when it's open, making sure that you're available. Because that's one thing, that you hear in, collegiate or high school, like, oh, it's your coach will say, my door is always open, my door is always open. But it's like, if I don't feel comfortable to sit at your desk, then it's just like, do you think I will always go to that open door? So you just have to make yourself available. And I definitely think as far as mentors, just don't be afraid to ask questions. A lot of kids, like I said, like a lot of my kids, they're afraid to ask questions or they're afraid to have conversations with their teammates. You have to be able to ask questions and get what you want. And it's definitely a lot of resources, a lot of connections, a lot of people out there that have exactly what you want or to get to where you want to be. You just have to be able to willing to openly ask those questions. I think that's one of the biggest piece of advice I would say.
Okay. So that's a good one because I know there's a lot of kids out here who probably, again, don't run track, don't know nothing about track, maybe want to run track, don't know where to start, don't know how
Mhm.
to get out the blocks, don't know who to ask, things like that. And they try to figure it out on their own. And I feel like, because I know with me, like same thing, parents didn't know nothing about, they didn't come with the track. Maybe
Right.
different sport. I had a brother doing a different sport, but with track, it was like, you got to figure it out on your own. We didn't have this much access to internet and social media and
Sure did.
podcasts and YouTube. And,
Mhm.
YouTube now, you can look up anything. They're going to tell you how to measure your
Right.
blocks out, what the placement, we didn't have all that. So I definitely think now, obviously, they can utilize those resources, but definitely, like you said, so ask the questions to the people. Okay.
Yes.
So, last question here that I want to ask. If you could say to be a great athlete, what are 3 characteristics someone should have?
Um, I feel like, ooh, 3 characteristics. Passion. I definitely think that should to be a great athlete, you have to definitely be passionate about what you do. I feel like integrity is definitely one. Like making sure you're doing what you're supposed to be doing when nobody's watching. It's hard because you know that, like I said, in college there was days where we didn't have practice with our coach, but we were told to get out there and do a workout. So you definitely need to have integrity. And honestly, I definitely think motivation. Yeah.
Is that motivation coming from yourself, or is
Um,
that like internal, or is that any type of motivation? It could be outside motivation because I know some people don't have support. So,
you're right. That's deep. Right. I think honestly motivation within yourself, because like if you're not
okay,
motivated to do it, at some point, like I said, at some point you're gonna get to that point where like enough is enough. And like that was like I said for me, I had those enough is enough moments, those moments where I felt like I was burnt out. I didn't want to do it, but I definitely had to tap into that motivation and that that passion of like, okay, why did you start? And pull myself back together and then keep going. I think if you don't have those, it's going to be hard for you to succeed and get to the next level, because like you said, people don't have support. So if you're not getting support from the outside world and you're not supporting yourself, then it's just like that, you really out here struggling for real. So I think if you really have motivation within yourself, support of others won't be, it's not going to weigh on you too bad. At some points, obviously you want your parents in the stands or your friends or your family, but if you can find motivation within yourself and get through that, I think you'll be okay.
Okay. Sounds good. All
Yes,
right.
man.
Before I get you off, what I like to do, what two people do you think have a great story or a story that you want to hear from them? And it could
Okay.
be in any sport. It could be track. It could be football. It could be basketball. It could be soccer, hockey. It doesn't matter. But what two people do you feel like either have a great story that should be shared or a story that you want to actually hear?
Okay. I have, well, I got a few, I guess. I have one guy friend who went to Mississippi State. Um, Definitely a good story. Kind of started off, D3 and then made his way to D1. That was pretty, good. Been on the collegiate level, been training with, some of his training partners are Olympians. That's pretty dope. And then I also another one that plays football. I don't know if you know Jawan Johnson. I think his story is pretty dope.
Okay.
Um, and then I don't know. Do you know Alexis Holmes? She was my teammate at Penn State.
That's the one who just ran here in the 400.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. Her story is pretty cool. She transferred as well from Penn State to Kentucky. And has been on a path. Obviously, we've seen this past week. Yeah. So I have a few people, who have
She's going
some
to Paris,
good.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
She
Yes,
is. Tell her she
yes.
need two
So
extra. She need to do two extra tickets. She need two guests, so me and you could
okay,
go.
I'm gonna definitely let her know for real. For real, especially in LA. Yeah, I'm there. For real. But
There we go.
yeah.
All
So
right, well, perfect. What I'll definitely do. I'll probably just reach out, let them know that you have referred them in about being able to tell their story as well. But Kiera, I definitely appreciate you. Thank you. Because I think it's definitely going to help, especially you being a coach now. So these upcoming athletes know what to really look out for, and know that they might have some challenges and know how to sacrifice some things in order to get where they want to be.
yes, they got it made. Cause if I had me when I was in high school, what? Yeah, you couldn't tell me nothing. What? The stuff you learn after you go through like your high school years, it's like, dang, like why didn't I know this then? But it's all a part of the journey. But the fact that I'm able to, pour into the next generation and give them, those pieces of advice is definitely, it was all worthwhile.
That's good.
Yes,
All right,
ma'am.
you too.